In January 1959, 9 of the most experienced winter hikers in the Soviet Union set out into the Ural Mountains on a routine expedition. None of them came back. What investigators found at their campsite 25 days later has never been fully explained. Not in 1959. Not today. Igor Dyatlov was 23 years old and one of the most accomplished wilderness hikers in the Soviet Union. His 8 companions had completed dozens of expeditions in conditions just as extreme. This was supposed to be a grade 3 difficulty hike, the highest difficulty rating that existed. Their destination was Otorten Mountain in the northern Urals. To reach it, they had to cross the slope of a peak called Declassified. In the language of the indigenous Mansi people who had lived in these mountains for centuries, Declassified means dead mountain. The Mansi avoided it completely. They set out on January 23, 1959. Their last confirmed contact with the outside world was a telegram sent from a village called Vizhay on January 28th. When they failed to return on schedule and no contact came, their families raised the alarm. A search party was dispatched into the mountains. The search party reached the slope of Dead Mountain on February 26, 1959. They found the tent first. It was still standing, still staked into the snow, still holding the shape the 9 hikers had given it when they set it up on the evening of February 1st. And it had been cut open from the inside. Not torn by wind or animal. Cut deliberately, multiple times, from the inside. The hikers had taken knives to their own shelter in the middle of a minus 30-degree Soviet mountain night and cut their way out rather than use the entrance. The footprints leading away from the tent. 8 or 9 people, walking in a relatively orderly line, walking deliberately down the mountain slope away from their tent, away from everything that could keep them alive, in minus 30 degrees, in the dark, in their underwear. Some wore socks. Some were barefoot. One wore a single boot. None wore the cold weather gear. They had left everything behind. Whatever they were fleeing from, they believed moving fast, and light was more important than surviving the temperature. That decision killed them before anything else did. The first 2 bodies were found at the edge of the tree line, near a large cedar tree. There were traces of small fire. The lower branches of the cedar had been broken up to 5 meters high. Someone had climbed that tree in minus 30 degrees in the dark, trying to see something. Yuri Durashenko and Yuri Krivonischenko, found at the cedar tree, in their underwear, barefoot. The fire had gone out. Their hands showed evidence they had been trying to feed the fire with branches broken from the tree above them. They died of hypothermia. Igor Dyatlov himself was found 300 meters up the slope from the cedar tree. He had been trying to get back to the tent, crawling up the slope toward the camp. He died before he reached it. His body was oriented directly toward the tent that was still standing 300 meters above him in the dark. Zinaida Kolmogorova was found further up the slope, also facing the tent, also trying to crawl back. 3 experienced hikers dying on the slope between the tree line and their shelter, all oriented toward the camp they were trying to reach, none of them making it. The remaining 4 bodies were not found until May, discovered in a ravine 75 meters from the cedar tree, buried under 4 meters of snow. They had built a snow shelter. These 4 had survived long enough after leaving the tent to build emergency shelter. Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Zolotarev, Alexander Kolevatov, Nikolai Thibault-Brignolo, found in the ravine shelter. Some of them were wearing clothing that had been cut from the bodies of the hikers who had already died at the cedar tree. They had returned to the dead, taken their clothing. Medical exams revealed unprecedented injuries, a skull fracture likened to a high-speed crash, and multiple rib fractures on both sides. The force exceeded human capability, yet there were no external wounds or bruising matching the internal damage. Lyudmila Dubinina was found missing her tongue, eyes, and facial soft tissue. The examiner noted the absence but couldn't determine how it occurred. Decomposition was suggested, Yet months in minus 30 degrees Celsius snow made that explanation unconvincing then, and still now. Weeks later, investigators tested the hikers' clothing. Results, withheld for decades, showed elevated radiation on Dubinina and Zolotarev's garments. Not extreme, but unexplained, especially given their remote route with no known radiation sources nearby. The Soviet investigation concluded in May 1959. The official cause of death was listed as an unknown compelling force. The files were classified. The mountain was closed to hikers for 3 years. No further official explanation was ever provided by the Soviet government. The families never accepted the official conclusion. In 2019, the Russian government officially reopened the investigation for the first time in 60 years. They announced they were examining 3 possible explanations. The families said none of these explanations addressed the physical evidence. Every year, hikers make the journey to the site. Every year, they find the same frozen slope, the same ravine, the same impossible silence of a place where 9 experienced people walked out of their tent in minus 30 degrees and never explained why. Since 1959, the Dyatlov Pass incident has generated more proposed explanations than almost any other unexplained event in modern history. Avalanche, military testing, infrasound, ball lightning, indigenous attack, government experiment. None explains all the evidence simultaneously. The most officially endorsed explanation is Avalanche. The 2021 Swiss Federal Institute of Snow and Avalanche Research modeled the scenario using modern computer simulation and concluded a small slab avalanche was physically possible on that slope. The slope angle where the tent was pitched was 23 degrees. Avalanches typically require at least 30 degrees. A snow slab large enough would have destroyed or buried the tent completely. The searchers found the tent intact. The avalanche theory does not explain the intact tent. The ravine victims' injuries remain the case's greatest mystery. Skull fractures like high-speed impacts and simultaneous rib breaks on both sides, requiring immense force. Yet there were no external wounds. Whatever caused them left the skin untouched. The military testing theory suggests Soviet forces conducted secret weapons trials, and the hikers became unintended victims. The Ural region was an active military zone in 1959. A pressure wave weapon could explain severe internal injuries without external marks and cases swift classification. The military theory has support, but key gaps. A pressure wave causing such injuries should have left wider physical evidence, yet none was found. When Russia reopened the case in 2019 with full archive access, investigators did not confirm military involvement. The infrasound theory is one of the most compelling. Low-frequency waves from wind over mountains can trigger panic, anxiety, and disorientation. Though inaudible, they're felt and leave no physical trace, possibly explaining the hikers' sudden, irrational flight. Infrasound may explain why experienced hikers fled their tent in panic without dressing. But it cannot account for the severe internal injuries without external wounds, the elevated radiation, the missing tongue, or why survivors cut clothing from bodies instead of returning to the nearby tent. Soviet investigators initially suspected the Mansi, indigenous to the region, due to sacred sites near Kolit-Syakhl. Several were questioned, but cleared. The hikers' injuries didn't match any human attack, and the Mansi had cultural reasons to avoid the area. Multiple witnesses reported seeing glowing orange spheres moving silently over the northern Ural Mountains during the same period the Dyatlov group was on the mountain. Military personnel, hiking groups, weather station operators. Their reports were classified with the rest of the case files. The group's final film roll was developed after their bodies were found. Most images were routine, but one showed a blurred circular light in the sky above the mountain. Investigators noted it, classified it, and never explained what it was. Yuri Krivonischenko, found under the cedar in his underwear, had signs on his hands resembling burns or extreme heat exposure. This puzzled investigators. He died of hypothermia in -30 degrees Celsius, with no fire nearby, capable of causing such injuries. 65 years later, the Dyatlov Pass incident has one of the most active global research communities of any unexplained event. New forensic tools being applied, new file analyses being published. The case has gone global. Near the mountain, 9 names are carved in stone. Flowers in summer, candles in winter. The mountain stands behind, saying nothing for 65 years. The answer is not in the mountain. It is in the evidence. We have not finished reading it. 9 people walked into that wilderness, and something happened that our understanding has not caught up with yet. The evidence is there. The answer is in it. Subscribe for a new forgotten mystery.